Texas is entering its most important season ever, and these three games can help decide it. After a disappointing 2025 season where they missed the playoffs entirely, the Texas Longhorns are coming back with a vengeance. They have arguably the most talented roster in the entirety of college football. They have 5 potential first-round picks on this team. I mean, seriously, they got Arch Manning, who's the potential first overall pick on most betting markets. You've got Ryan Wingo, who's a potential first-round pick. Cam Coleman, who transferred in from Auburn. You've got Trevor Gooseby, who looks to be one of the best left tackles in all of college football. And then you just have Colin Simmons. I mean, this team could genuinely be the best in all of college football, and they really should, right? But we've seen this talent level before, right? Texas has always been talented, at least ever since they joined the SEC. But they've just never been able to live up to the hype. Back in 2024, they had a ton of hype against the University of Georgia back when they played in October of that year, and then got blown out at home and had a very questionable PI call as well. There was a lot of controversy in that game. They then lost to Georgia again in the SEC championship game. There has always been a lot of expectations, but not a lot of results. And this is the season to prove that they can bring the results. They have no reason not to, okay? And these three games are going to be the games that decide ultimately what their season is going to look like. And I truly think that if they're able to pull through, if they win all three of these games, they're likely going to end up winning the national championship. Well, let's go ahead and kick this off. So at number 3, I've got Ohio State. Now, Ohio State last year was the biggest week 1 matchup I think we've seen in a long time. I think it was the first time we'd ever seen the number 1 and number 2 play each other in week 1, or it had been the first time in a very, very long time. So there was a lot of hype for that game. And there was a lot of hype to see Arch Manning for the first time as a starter on the road for the first time ever against a big opponent, the reigning defending national champion Ohio State. And in that game, there were a lot of doubters because Arch Manning didn't necessarily look great, right? But against that defense, against that 2025 Ohio State defense, led by Matt Patricia, defense coordinator, a defense that consisted of arguably the best defensive player in all of college football in Caleb Downs, had 2 more studs who were top 10 picks in Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese at edge and off-ball linebacker. There was a lot of people doubting Arch Manning. And throughout the season, he definitely got a lot better. But this day, I think this game truly was a test for him, and it's going to be a test for him as well this year. While Ohio State is still a great defense, I mean, any defense that's led by Matt Patricia is going to be great, right? But when you lose 3 generational talents like Arvell Reese, like Caleb Downs, like Sonny Styles, there's going to be a bit of a fall off, right? So I think there's going to be an opportunity for us to see, for the first time, this powerful Texas offense against a truly great opponent. Because week 1, this will be a week 2 matchup. In week 1, they're facing Texas State. The starters might be out by the first quarter. I mean, I'll be honest. That is the tune-up game of the century. So we're going to be able to see what a offense that consists of Arch Manning, that consists of Ryan Wingo, that consists of Cam Coleman, that has Trevor Gooseby protecting Arch Manning, that also has Steve Sarkisian as the main architect behind everything. And I'm extremely excited for it. I think if Arch Manning comes out and he looks really, really great, I think that all of the Heisman hype and all the first overall pick hype is going to come to fruition, truly, because this is the kind of matchup where if you play good against Ohio State, there is no school that you can't beat. That is the level of competition that Ohio State brings. They're easily going to be one of the best defenses in all of college football, even with the step back they're taking. They were still one of the best last year. I think they had a shutout streak of, I don't even know how many. They shut out a lot of schools last year. They were incredible, and they're going to be incredible this year. So I'm very, very excited to see what Arch Manning and this offense can do. This is really going to be a test to see how they can face and how Arch Manning can take an even bigger step forward, because in the last half of 2025, he took a big step forward. He looked really great at times, right? But we need to see that more consistently, and we need to be able to see it against better competition in 2026 for that first overall pick hype to really hit home, because I do believe that Arch Manning will be the number 1 overall pick, and this is the game to prove that. At number 2, I've got LSU. This LSU versus Texas game has legitimate game of the year hype, right? You have 2 of arguably the best offenses in all of college football. You have arguably 2 of the best quarterbacks in all of college football, and Sam Leavitt and Arch Manning. You have arguably two of the best tackles in all of college football in Jordan Seaton and Trevor Goosby. And you have arguably some of the best receivers in all of college football. You got Eugene Wilson, the transfer from Florida to LSU, and of course, Ryan Wingo and Cam Coleman. This game will be taking place at LSU at night, and we all know what this type of environment entails. It is loud, it is aggressive, and it is daunting for any team to come in and play, let alone win, right? And so this is the type of game late in the season against a potential top 10 opponent on the road at night that is the momentum swinger for the entire rest of your season. This is the type of game that leads you to the national championship. And I say that because just last year, Indiana played Penn State. Now, is it the same exact situation? Is it the same exact team? Is it the same exact caliber of team? No. But that was a game where Indiana got punched in the mouth. Very few times in 2025 did they get punched in the mouth. But they did. On the road, week 10, they were down by a touchdown or by 4 points with a minute 2 left to go. They ended up going down the field, scoring the game-winning touchdown, and staying undefeated. That punch in the mouth was what led them to that national championship game. It was the oh crap moment that Indiana needed. And it's going to be the oh crap moment that Texas is likely going to need. Because they'll likely be coming into this matchup with potentially a loss. You're facing Ohio State. You're facing Tennessee. You're facing Ole Miss. You're facing a very good schedule. And so this is going to be the type of game that really decides either if they make it to the national championship or the playoffs at all, or they don't. And so I think that they're truly going to show up and they're going to show out. They're going to get punched in the mouth. It's expected. It's LSU. They're going to get punched. It's how they respond to getting punched in the mouth that's going to tell me everything I need to know. And I truly believe that they will punch back. And they're going to punch back hard. At number 1, I've got Texas A&M. The Texas versus Texas A&M game has a lot of implications in college football. Just last year, Texas came into this game 8-3, fighting for a playoff spot. They were still in the conversation, they were still in the hunt, and a win against an undefeated top 3 team in Texas A&M would be a very good look on their resume. Whereas Texas A&M is coming into this game undefeated, of course. They're already in the playoffs, that's guaranteed, but they're fighting for the SEC championship game. Texas A&M, of course, loses this game. They then go on to play in the first round of the playoffs, which they wouldn't have if they had won this game and made it to the SEC championship game, or more than likely wouldn't have been playing in. They still would have had to win the SEC championship game against Georgia. But regardless, they lose in the first round to Miami, and they're knocked out of the playoffs. And Texas doesn't make it that much farther because they didn't make it at all. They ended up with 9-3 with a pretty solid resume, but regardless, 3 losses, you're out of the playoffs. Right. And so this game is going to have a lot of playoff implications. Again, these two teams likely are going to come in at worst with 2 losses. At worst with 2 losses. They're fighting for playoffs contention. They're fighting for their seeding. And so this game, by week 12, or by game 12, I suppose, is going to be the most important game on their schedule. Because this game, regardless of whatever happened previously, is going to decide which one of these 2 teams is either going to be in front of each other or in better seeding for the playoffs, or which one of these 2 teams doesn't make it at all, which is always exciting. And it's why we love college football. It's because this type of drama, you don't get very often. You don't get it, especially nowadays where you have the 12-team playoff. There's usually not this level of playoff implications with any of the rivalry games. You look at the Iron Bowl. It's arguably it's a better rivalry all time. Holds very little playoff implications. Alabama losing to Auburn last year maybe would have knocked them out. Auburn winning it wouldn't have done anything for them, though. And losing it did nothing for them either. The big game. Ohio State lost it in 2024. Still went on to win the national championship game. It didn't matter. As much as we love these rivalry games, there's not a lot of them that hold the same level of implications as the Texas versus Texas A&M game does. And that's why it's so important. And even if it doesn't, even let's just say worst comes to worst, they're both coming in with 3 losses. They're both out of the playoffs. It is a deep-seated rivalry that was gone for 15 years. Came back after Texas rejoined the SEC. And it's not on the same level again as the big game or the Iron Bowl or even Georgia Florida, right? It's not even on the same level as Texas Oklahoma, but it is a deep seated rivalry, and there is legitimate hatred for these two programs or from these two programs. And that's the type of thing that makes college football so great is that no matter how potentially non factorish a game seems to be on the outside, within these respective fan bases, it means so much more.